What is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikasa Sukasa. And of course, as always, I am your humble host, Niko House. So today, we do have some breaking news. As of yesterday, technically speaking, Tulsi has qualified for the fourth debate. In other words, she has met the polling requirements of getting 2% in at least 4 DNC approved polls, and it's also met the grassroots donations requirement that requires her to have at least 130,000 unique individual donations before August the 26th. Now, as great as that sounds, here's the reality. This is still Tulsi Gabbard. The Democratic Party and the DNC is still the Democratic Party and DNC. In other words, they will do whatever they can to keep her off of that stage. There has not been any public statements by the DNC regarding Tulsi qualifying for that poll. There have been several articles suggesting that the DNC may or may not count 1 or 2 of those polls. There have been Twitter accounts suggesting that anonymous DNC sources have hinted at the fact that they may not count 1 or 2 of those polls. But today I'm here to tell you those polls should qualify. If the DNC has any speckle of integrity left, they will qualify. But, we don't really count on them to have any integrity. So we're going to apply pressure on them right here in this video. And also, I'm going to let you know how you can apply pressure on them as well to let them know that the entire world is watching them, and that not only Tulsi supporters, but basically anybody who wants to uphold democracy and ensure that all voices are heard, that we're all watching. We're all watching. So I want to show you all really quick a series. Actually, I don't think I have it pulled up, but I can read it to you. So this is a series of tweets by Nicole Fisher. She's actually a researcher, or someone who helps research for Tulsi's campaign. But she also has a lot of great information. I suggest you all follow her on Twitter. It's @_N Alexander. So @_N as in Nicole Alexander. So she does a pretty good breakdown about what the situation is regarding Tulsi's polling and qualifying for the debates. So the first tweet says, Tulsi Gabbard has hit four polls that hit all the DNC qualifying criteria, hitting at least 2% in one of the DNC's approved polls using the sponsor's top line of that poll: CBS, YouGov, CNN, SSRS, ABC, WAPO, and now the Des Moines, Iowa Register. Now, what does she mean by a top line? So the excuse that many were trying to come up with as far as the ABC WAPO poll was concerned, the excuse that they were using to try and say that is not a DNC qualifying poll is the top line excuse. In other words, what uses the quote unquote largest sample size, completely ignoring the norm that the DNC has used. The normal standard that they have used is registered Democrats. However, in the ABC WAPO poll, there is not registered. So the Washington Post poll is registered Democrats. Tulsi hits 2% there. The ABC poll is all adults, so she hits 1% in that poll. But it's still one poll, just 2 different sponsors getting 2 different results. So here's the catch: ABC qualifying poll, WAPO qualifying poll. Yes, she did not qualify by ABC standards. However, by the standards that the DNC set, she does in fact qualify through the WAPO poll. So the top line, once again, would be whatever the pollster selects to be the deciding factors, usually the most encompassing statistic as far as the amount of people being polled, and it's usually larger, if you will. Like I said, so that one for ABC, for example, it was the amount of adults, the number of adults, not registered Democratic voters. Of course, once again, whenever they want to use registered Democratic voters to pretend that progressives are not polling well, they have no problem applying that rule. But now that Tulsi is doing well amongst registered Democratic voters, all of a sudden, they don't want to use that anymore. So going forward, Nicole goes on to say this: the DNC's rules specify that the sponsor of the poll determines the top line. Each sponsor of these polls had their top line with Tulsi Gabbard at 2%. In the case of the third poll, with two sponsors, one sponsor being ABC, dictated the top line as 1%. That's what I was just talking to you about. ABC dictated as 1%. However, once again, Washington Post dictated the top line as 2% going to Tulsi. She also includes a screenshot saying, each polling result must be the top line number in the original public release from the approved sponsoring organization or institution, whether or not it is a rounded or a weighted number. In other words, Washington Post is an approved pollster, okay? It's an approved sponsor, I should say. They have their top line as registered Democratic voters. Those registered Democratic voters have Tulsi at 2%. So once again, as Nicole brilliantly pointed out, according to the DNC's own rules, Tulsi does qualify in the Washington Post poll. And really quick, I'm going to see if they have their top line. So I'm looking at the methodology right now. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, no, it doesn't have it in here. But basically, the Washington Post in their original release said that their poll was going to use the top line that said Tulsi got 2%. So many of you may be wondering exactly when did the last poll come. The last poll came yesterday, actually. It was a CNN-sponsored poll by the Des Moines Register. Not surprised by her doing well in that poll, or doing better, I should say. 2% amongst registered Democratic voters. Once again, not surprised, because if you've noticed, Tulsi spent a lot of time in Iowa. Her message is resonating there. Her crowds are getting bigger there. And she's focused more on Iowa and New Hampshire right now than any other state. I would say the closest to coming in third would be California. So it's not surprising that she's doing well there. But the Des Moines Register poll has her also at 2%. So, by the standards set by the DNC, Tulsi has qualified. Now, do we expect the DNC to play nice? Do we expect the DNC to follow their own rules? They've made it perfectly clear, at least the attorney did in our DNC fraud lawsuit, that they don't want to play, nor do they have to play by their own rules. That's what they say anyway. The DNC fraud lawsuit is still underway, so we will find out if there is any truth to that claim. However, in this particular case, we might be able to do something about it proactively. And here's what I would suggest everybody doing. So, if you go to the DNC's website, this is what you'll find. But I got it here for you so you don't have to. I strongly urge you all, go take to Twitter and at them. At the DNC. Literally all you have to do is at DNC. And you can even do at the Democrats too. And you let them know Tulsi met the qualifications. Tulsi met the donation qualifications. And that Tulsi absolutely should be on that debate stage. And there is absolutely no reason why she is not included. Their number is 202-863-8000. So in addition to adding them on Twitter, I once again strongly urge you to call them as well. Clearly, it's Sunday if you're watching this now. Don't call them right now, but put it on your to-do list to call them first thing in the morning, 9 a.m. Start a business, and let your presence be felt. And by the way, once again, this should not be limited to Tulsi supporters, because if you know anything about the DNC, if they can get away with screwing Tulsi, they will get away with screwing you or whoever your candidate is. You don't have to guess. They've already proven it. You let them know, according to your rules, Tulsi has met the debate qualifications. So as of right now, we are expecting her to be in the debates. She should not have to put up a fight for the DNC to uphold their rules. Once again, there has been no official statement from one side or another. Tulsi has not officially announced anything. The DNC has not officially announced or denied anything. But I know how the DNC works. The DNC does not do the right thing at all without pressure. So this is us preemptively taking action to ensure that before they decide to make any type of an announcement or decision, that we are all paying attention and we are preempting this. We are letting them know, okay, we're watching you. Go ahead, say what you got to say. Donald Smith, thanks for the super chat. Tulsa 2020, absolutely. So yeah, make sure that you do this. Once again, the number is 202-863-8000. 202-863-8000 if you're not watching this on video. So, like I said, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., call them. After that, or before that actually, today, at them on Twitter, at sign, in the DNC, at DNC. It's too easy. It will take literally seconds of your time to at them on Twitter, and maybe a couple of minutes of your time to call them at DC tomorrow. 9 a.m. tomorrow, give them a call. I'm going to keep saying it. 9 a.m. tomorrow, give them a call. Right now, at them on Twitter. Because if you do not, once again, if Tulsi is screwed out of this debate, if Tulsi is screwed out of this election, and if you frequented this channel, then you know this is the same speech I give. I gave it for Marianne Williamson. I gave it for Andrew Yang. I gave it for Bernie Sanders, and I give it for Bernie Sanders more than probably anywhere else or anybody else. Big Irv, appreciate the super chat, man. Tell your friends to do the same. If they get away with this, because Tulsi is the quote unquote low hanging fruit right now for the DNC. And I'm sure most of you are aware of this. Really have not seen the smear campaign take place, even by so-called progressives, like I've seen against Tulsi. And I was a Bernie Sanders supporter in 2015, okay? Like, I've never seen anything like this. But we can change history by being proactive. We cannot be reactionary. We cannot do it. I know a lot of people want to do that. I don't know why. They just want to see, oh, what about the numbers? Numbers only can get you so far when you're working against a rigged system. Ask Jeremy Corbyn in the UK. You can have all the support you want, but if you're working against a rigged system and no one wants to preempt it, you know what I'm saying, preempt the corruption, then the corruption will continue. So, once again, before I go, DNC, at DNC, let them know Tulsi qualified and you will be expecting to see her on the debate stage. Once again, call that number. I'll bring it up one more time before we go. One more damn time. One more time. 202-863-8000. Once again, that number is 202-863-8000. 8000. All right? And I expect you all to do the right thing and put in a little bit of effort. If we put in a quarter of the effort that Tulsi has been putting in this election, then we will find success in one form or another. It may not be necessarily through her winning the presidency, although that would be ideal, but there are more than one way to win. There is more than one way to win an election, rather than by the constraints defined by the establishment. Sometimes you don't have to win the office to win the election. And then if any of you are a Bernie supporter from 2015, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes you end up with an our revolution. A lot of times you end up with a Nina Turner getting a microphone unlike we've really never seen for a black female politician. Sometimes you end up with the Tulsi Gabbard running for president out of that campaign with the progressive cred she accrued and her being woke ever since 2015, 2016. That's what you. Sometimes you end up with like there's a lot of ways to win, bruh. There's a lot of ways to win. It doesn't always translate into the establishment's definition of winning. So that's why it's important that we continue to fight. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning into that live stream segment of Mikasa Sukasa. And hey, always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace. Hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you like that segment of Mikasa Sukasa. Also, you can help us upgrade the studio and take this show on the road to cover the on-the-ground politics that you love by clicking on that GoFundMe link in the description and donating literally anything. Anything helps. Also, you can follow us on Rockfin, on Twitter, and on Facebook as well. And hey, more than anything else, people, always remember,